This video is probably going to piss a lot of people off because abortion is a very touchy subject. With black folks being the most religious demographic in the country, abortion and religion usually don't go hand in hand. But you know what? I have no fucks to give about all that. What I do is look at stuff realistically and without any kind of attachment to any result. I look at the facts. The facts are that black people having all these damn babies that they can't afford to educate, can't afford to house, can't afford to clothe, can't afford to keep the medical care for the children up in their dental care and everything else that kids need. Can't afford to do it. So the kids end up in foster care or they end up dead. Those are usually the two things that happen. So we have children suffering, even if they are with their parents, they're suffering from neglect, abuse, and poverty, which includes poor nutrition, skipped meals, what they call food insecurity, and oftentimes, being booted out of their house. They don't have any home. They're staying with friends or relatives in shelters, all this kind of stuff. My thing is this: with the reality that raising a child born in 2013, statistically, an analysis says, and this is including, inflation as we project forward, a child born in 2013 will cost more than $305,000 to raise. Now, working at Walmart, Mickey D's, and whatever else y'all be doing, the hair salon, all this stuff, you're not going to be cranking out that kind of money. So what you do is go and depend on subsidy programs, because you ain't getting no child support because the baby daddy is some kind of deadbeat fool, or he's half broke himself and he's paying $50, $60 a month in child support. That ain't shit. So what you have is a situation where you are forced to depend on government assistance to raise your child. So you getting SNAP benefits and you getting the medical, thing, the medical care, whatever, Obamacare, whatever they have. I mean, it's different in different states. And you're getting Section 8 for your housing, and you're getting discounted child care, and you doing all that stuff. Okay, but the understanding, you better get real, because the Republicans already cut SNAP benefits by the millions a couple of years ago. They want to cut more. Okay, so all kinds of, millions of people were removed from the rosters of the SNAP program, and they got their medical care cut as well. So now they have to do without, or they have to get the food from food banks or wherever they can get it. Section 8 is really, clocking down on folks. So not everybody, and plus it takes years sometimes to even get it. So, and what do you do in the meantime? You bringing home $1,800 a month and your rent is $12. What you gonna do? You still have to pay daycare. I don't know where you live, but out here in the Bay Area, daycare for infants can cost as much as $2,000. Rent out here ain't no joke either. Your average apartment, in some areas, you can get a one-bedroom apartment, it's $2,500. You got to live in the hood. I mean, the deep hood where there's like gunshots and shit to get some decent rent that's affordable. But is that a good environment to have your children in? Especially if you have preteen daughters, teenage girls, or even teenage boys. The gangs are going to be all over them. I mean, you guys, I know that babies are cute. People have this babies are cute and they want to have this baby. They have this vision of this, dressing the baby up like a little dolly and it being so cute and plump and all this old stuff. But you have to stop that fantasy shit and get real. Look at how much it costs to just feed, clothe, and house a child. All this stuff that you guys are talking about, God will make a way, and it's just wrong to kill somebody. It's not a somebody yet. See, this is the thing. Fetuses are parasites. That's essentially what they are. People don't like to think about it that way, but that's what the fuck it is, because it cannot survive outside of the host body, which is the mother. Okay, so if your body is not sheltering it and nourishing it, it will not survive on its own. So everybody talking about, well, it's a life, is this, is that. Take that shit out and sit it over there on the on the counter and let's see what happens. See, that's I don't go for that bullshit. That's like that fantasy thinking that's designed to guilt trip women into having babies. Okay, they are like, oh, we're pro life, all life is valuable, this and that. But these the same motherfuckers that believe in the death penalty. These the same motherfuckers that's voting to cut food stamps and to cut welfare rolls and to do everything in their power to save quote government money from helping the same children that they push so hard for poor women to have. Don't be a fool. They're just setting you up for failure. And by getting all in your head like that, so here you go, right, you're gonna have this damn baby. Now you can't afford the baby. People's talking about you neglect the baby. Here comes social services to check it out. If they decide that whatever the situation is that you have this child in is not sufficient, they're going to take the child by force right there on the spot. You don't get a vote. I mean, you got to go back to court to get your child. Now, look at it realistically. Okay, so you didn't have the money to properly feed, clothe, house, and take care of the child. Please explain to me how you supposed to have the money to pay the court fines, get you a lawyer, and pay for these classes they're gonna want you to have, and still pay your rent and all this other stuff. How's that supposed to happen? So that's what I'm trying to get you all to understand. You are being set up. You're being set up to breed. The foster care system and the prison system are the new slavery. That's all they're doing. When you look at the statistics that I have put up on this slide, you can see how clear it is. I mean, it's right there in black and white. Right? I mean, it's embarrassing. Like right here in the county I live in Alameda County, black people, black children are a very small percentage of the population, right? But the majority of the children in foster care in this county are black. There are more black children in foster care in this county than there are all the other races combined. And I want you to see that. I just take a look at that. I'm going to pause this for a minute so you can absorb that. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that the attorneys, the social workers, the judges, the lawyers, the police officers, and everybody connected, group home leaders, foster parents, everybody is going to make money off of your child. Your child is a pawn in a system, and you did that to them. And while your child is there, they're going to be molested, they're going to be raped, they're going to be neglected and abused because the people don't give a fuck about them. The foster parents that really care are so few and far between. So you got to look at, okay, say that's 25% of foster homes. That means 75% of them ain't shit and just in it for a check. They're going to have 5, 6 kids up in the house, making money. So you guys have to think, and then when you look at statistics as well, once those kids go through the foster care system and age out, because few black children are adopted. We got to be realistic on that tip. Black children don't get adopted. They don't even get adopted by the minorities, people who you would think would understand discrimination, like, the gay and lesbian couples and, the single women who want to adopt a child. Nobody wants the black kids, and if they do, they want a black female. They don't want the males. So you looking at the black kids are 7 times less likely to be adopted than any other race of child. So that means once your child gets into foster care, they pretty much are stuck there. They're going to age out. Okay, at 18, well, no, I forgot. The law got changed in 2012, so now it's 21. So at 21, they age out of the foster care system. But who do you know at 21 who was really ready to be on their own? You know what I mean? I mean, you constantly calling your parents and looking for support and encouragement and explanations on life and all this kind of stuff from your parents. These kids don't have it because they have no relationship with you anymore. You threw them away, or you had them and you couldn't do anything about it, to get them back. So essentially, it's the same thing. They were taken from you by force because you didn't have your shit together. So let's look at this. Let's look at this abortion thing. Because I was talking about it, and these women were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you said that you're in favor of abortion." Damn fucking Skippy. I swear, if I could have a banner on my car that flew above it that said "Get a fucking abortion," I would have one. Because let's say you use birth control, because a lot of people don't these days. They feel like they go get them AIDS tests or whatever, and they pass the test, so then they just fucking just fancy free. Okay, but you forgetting about the baby part. So here comes this kid. Now you got pregnant by some nigga you ain't even really with, some stepping knucklehead that he had good dick or whatever. But that don't mean that you get pregnant by him. You also don't get pregnant by somebody you're having a booty call with, or friends with benefits situation, or some motherfucker you just met. You do not get pregnant by them. You just don't do that. But let's just say that you were dumb and you did. Now, here's going to be a situation where you have to make a decision. There's three things you can do. You can get an abortion. You wait to 6 weeks or whatever it takes to, get the medical abortion in the doctor's office. You can get an abortion pill, which may or may not work. You can jump up and use a morning after pill. Now, or, of course, you could just go full term and have the baby. So that's actually 4 options. Now, abortion pill is about, I don't know, $700 or $800. You'd have to check with your insurance carrier to see if they, would cover some of that cost. Some do. The cost for the morning after pill, depending upon which state you are and whether you get generic or not, is going to run you between $35 and $75. Okay, but you got to take that, like right away. So you got to understand that you made a mistake and jump up and handle it. Okay, you can get an abortion. The cost for those anywhere, we got to give a range because all over the country there are different prices. So just say anywhere between $300 and $600. The cost of raising a child, $305 grand. So you looking at economically which one is going to have the greatest impact on you and your family. And I think unless you are balling like that, then you don't have no business having a damn baby. You just don't. Get yourself in a better financial position, get some education, and get in a sensible relationship so that man will be there to help parent his child. Because kids born in these single parent homes don't fare so well. They can, but it's more like the exception rather than the rule. Because when you look at what's in our prison systems, from some studies, it's as much as 80% of the people in prison in the United States were at one point or another a foster child. That is a very scary statistic. And that means the foster care system, though it was designed to have, to provide an environment that was allegedly safe for children to be raised in, safer and better than the homes where the parents, weren't allegedly taking care of them. Evidently, there's a lot of trauma suffered by the children, and they aren't getting stability and love like they need. The reason is, you look at how many kids go from foster home to foster home. It's very rare that a child gets in one home and stays there. These are kids that have emotional problems, which of course they're going to have because they're coming from a dysfunctional house into foster care. So they don't really know how to relate that well, and they're used to struggling and having all kinds of problems. Maybe the parents were drug users. There's all kind of drama that could go on in a home that would, warrant removing the child from that home and putting in foster care. We don't know everybody's story, so I'm just giving generalizations here. But if you have a child that's been bounced around from 8, 10, 12, 30 different homes over the course of 10 to 15 years, how do you think that child is going to fare emotionally? How well is that child going to be able to handle relationships with people? How well is that child going to adjust socially and fit in with the world? A lot of these kids just go straight from foster care to homelessness and then to crime and then to prison. And because then at least they have some place to eat and sleep. You guys, I know everybody's like, well, I shouldn't be denied a chance to be a parent just because I'm poor. No, but what you should be doing instead of breeding like a bunny rabbit is getting your ass in school and doing something so that you set yourself up for financial success. That's what you should be doing. All your youth, instead of breeding babies right and left by two, three different niggas, you should be focusing on establishing yourself in the job market or establishing a business or getting degrees. I mean, whatever you need to do for yourself to prepare for parenthood. It is extremely demanding and it requires that someone be mature, focused, and stable themselves. If you are not any of those things, you have no business having a baby. Get your ass to the nearest abortion clinic and stop listening to stupid people who are telling you dumb stuff like, God won't put nothing on you any more than you can handle. And a baby is a blessing. No, the fuck they're not. You don't see the damn blessing when your ass is sitting in the dark because you couldn't pay the daycare bill and the light bill at the same time. So, I don't really understand this desire for black women to put themselves under mountains of struggle. What is this masochistic desire to feel pain? I don't understand it. And I don't want anybody coming on here talking about, well, I had my kids when I was 16 and it was hard, but I made a way. I don't give a fuck because the bottom line is you didn't have to do that. You chose to put yourself in a struggle position. You did that to yourself. So don't be trying to talk some other young girl into struggling like you did. Instead, we're going to use you as an example of what not to do. Because whatever far you got and all the time it took you to done, you could have done it twice as fast and be twice as far down the road by now. That's what I'm saying. So, even if you did manage to climb out the barrel, you would have never had to put yourself in the barrel in the first place. So don't be bragging about the fact that you climbed out. Be slapping yourself for being stupid for putting yourself in it. That's what I'm talking about. And so that's what I'm looking at, this whole focus on, having all these damn kids. What is the issue? What is the reason? What is the goal? Why do that? You can't put them in dance classes. You can't put them in music lessons. They can't play sports. I mean, all these things cost extra money. You struggling just barely making a rent and stuff. You need cars. You need time, that kind of job where you can afford to take some time off here and there to go and see your kids in games and drive them places and do all this stuff. You can't afford to get your child a tutor. If your child is exceptionally smart, then you should be able to put your child in a private school where they can excel and reach like the highest heights of educational acumen. But you can't do that because you don't have no money. You can't do, it's an impossible thing to really understand why so many young women want to do that to themselves when you have other options. You don't have to have a baby. It's not necessary for you to do that until later in life when a few years down the road, when you have yourself situated, when you are stable, you have a nice home, you have some money saved up, you already got yourself focused for retirement, you got a fund for your kid for college, you got some shit together. You know what I mean? That's like a mature way to handle your business. And putting a child in a risky situation where you are dependent on either the government or some nigger, because there's a lot of you, you got these quote boyfriends that you always hitting up for money, all this stuff. But see, especially if those aren't his kids, why should he? You depended on some other man to help you take care of babies that you didn't have to have. And I mean, it's not the guys will do it. I mean, they're, be nice because they love you or whatever, but that's not their responsibility. That's yours. If they do it just out of the kindness of their heart, good for them. But you shouldn't go into any situation where you have responsibility for the child that you birthed looking for somebody else to help you with that responsibility. That's not their job. And at any time they could rescind any promise that they made to assist you, then what you gonna do? The nigga leaves, the nigga dies, the nigga goes to jail, the nigga gets married to somebody else. I mean, what? Then what you gonna do? You don't have no money. So how you gonna handle things? Another aspect of this that we need to look at is how many of these kids, in order to keep them out of foster care, are taken in by grandparents. Okay, now these people are old. These people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, And suddenly they have an infant or some toddlers or some grade school kids or worse yet, some damn teenagers. They have your children. They already raised their children, but now in an effort to keep their flesh and blood out of the government system, they're going to try. Now here's some people living on their fixed income, Social Security, using their money to buy diapers and formula and bottles and baby clothes versus the things that they need for themselves, like medication. There's a lot of seniors that are dying from strokes and heart attacks that they didn't have to have, that at least not until early in life, because they weren't able to afford the co-payments on their hypertension medication or their heart medication because they were spending it on your kid that you didn't have to have. See, so to me, in situations like that where you just have no fucking clue, get a damn abortion. It's the best solution for everybody. It's best for you. It's best for the kid. It's best for your mama who's 70 years old, your grandmother who's 80. Because sometimes it's the grandmother. It's the great grandmother, right? It's the grandmother of the mama. So it's the great grandmother who takes in the children. So you got some 70, 80-year-old person running around here trying to take care of some little kids. That just is just scandalous. And this very selfish, I think, for people to say, well, I can't kill my baby. Then if you couldn't do that, then why were you fucking with no birth control? See, so you thinking you just gonna pass the buck and pass the responsibility of this kid that you just had to have, just fucking all wild and free, onto someone else. That's not fair. It's not fair to anybody, and it's extremely selfish. I don't understand that. So you thinking about yourself and what you want and what you like and what you feel like you can't do, and all these things that you say you're going to feel guilty about. You should feel guilty about burdening a child with some silly ass mother and burdening your grandparents or the kid's grandparents with taking care of it when you can't, or putting the child in foster care, just putting it straight in the pipeline from foster care to prison. That's what you should be feeling guilty about. Instead, you let these religious freaks get all up in your head telling you all this other stuff, and you focusing on that instead of the reality of the life that you're ruining by having a kid that you can't afford to take care of, and you're not mature enough to take care of. You have no sense to take care of. What the fuck are you doing? It's just scandalous. And you look at the black community in a shambles. And don't think I'm going to let the men making these damn babies off the hook, because they certainly, have a full responsibility for helping curb this problem as well. Because a woman wouldn't have to get an abortion if she wasn't fucking some nigga raw. And nobody raped him. Okay, so he did that. He made the choice to do that, but you let him. So, I have to say both of y'all are at fault. But ultimately, if a decision is made to bring a life into this world, into a situation that's unstable and makes no damn sense, then that's you. That's all on you. Because even though you get pregnant, you don't have to stay pregnant. And even though you get pregnant, you don't have to have a baby. You don't have to subject a child to some abusive knucklehead that some trying to use the baby to keep some nigger, or trying to fulfill his fantasy of being a daddy, and all these other reasons why y'all claim that you want to have all these damn kids. Children are fabulous. Don't get me wrong. They're great. They change you. When you see your child thrive and become a mature adult and be successful and all of that. But just having a baby just to be having it, that's a setup for failure. So the child's going to be useless and lost because you're not going to be able to provide it with the proper direction and support because you're a child yourself. And that's just the bottom line. So that's one reason. That's my reasoning. That's why I advocate for abortions under situations like this. My mom was a foster parent. And after we all moved out, there's this big old house in San Francisco. And, the stories those kids would tell, it was just horrific. The stuff that they went through. And, she would, something as basic as their hair getting cold, the little kids coming. And she had very few black kids. This was in San Francisco. But a couple, but most of them were Latino or white or something. and she did rest, like the emergency care. The kids would stay for like a week or two or something like that, and then they would transition into a permanent home. And then later she started doing long-term care. But the first couple of years she did the emergency care, and so the kids would come, they'd have a safe place to sleep, and she'd feed them and cook for them and take them to movies, and just try to kind of calm them down. And the stories, though, that they told, you just look at them and you just wonder, why in the world did their parents even have them? I mean, the kids endured years and years of suffering. The kids were like anywhere between age 6 all the way up to 16. And, some of them had been molested and raped by their mother's boyfriends or the stepfather. A couple of the boys got beaten up by the boyfriends of the stepfather. One guy got choked up against the wall by his mother's boyfriend. I mean, it was always some drama and always this violence and mistreatment of the children. And in a situation where you, like I said, where you don't have a stable environment and you still want to be fucking around with this dude and that dude because you're not married and you're not really stable in one situation, you're going to be bringing these types of men over your kids. Why would you do that to them when you don't have to have a baby until you are in a stable situation and preferably married? But this is a very sad tale for me. I mean, of course, nobody likes the idea of getting an abortion. But my thing is this better, or is it better to set a child up for drama for the rest of his life because you made a silly choice to get, to have this sex without proper birth control, and then you decided to have a baby when you know your ass don't have no money, and you know your ass is not, not mentally or emotionally prepared to parent. Why would you do that? Motherhood is more than a notion, and these single parent homes in the black community, this is causing a lot of devastation for our children. We need to do something, and we need to do it now. And this is my solution. Okay, because I don't know what else is good. I mean, this immediately, if you reduce the numbers of children being born into these situations, a lot of these problems will go away by themselves. That's my solution. Instant change. Other than that, you got a solution. I sure would love to hear it. But this is mine. My name is Deborah Cooper, advice columnist on survivingdating.com and askheartbeat.com. I will be back with another video in a few days. Thank you for listening.